All right, everybody ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. What's happening, windbags? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here to welcome you to another breathtaking episode of Trumpet with Bob. As you know, trumpet is a wind instrument, and it's hard to overstate the importance of breathing as a part of playing the trumpet. However, as human beings, we've been breathing in and out since the day we were born, so it's easy to take for granted the importance of breathing as a component of playing the trumpet. Especially what with the fact that you've got all these buttons to push, there's a lot of mechanisms involved, you've got to build up the muscles in your face, and all the while you have to be thinking about what's required to play the music in front of you. So, one thing that I wanted to talk about today that is useful, may seem simple, but is useful for people of all ages and experience levels on trumpet, is a very important tip that I always have to remind myself of, which is, don't forget to breathe. Making sure to take a proper breath while playing the trumpet is just like remembering to fill your car with gas before you go on a long road trip. While you're cruising, you might not really think about it, but once you run out of gas or run out of air, things become extremely difficult. Now, there's a lot of times we talk about really taking in a big breath, filling your lungs with air, using your diaphragm to really pull the air down into the full expanse of your lungs. But sometimes it's easy to forget about the value of really creating good breathing habits. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today because it's something that can really help. Not only do you need your air in order to get your lips buzzing and to create a proper tone and to be able to play into the upper register and cover the vast range of the trumpet and get a good tone, but you may also find that if you're not breathing regularly and you're not taking a full breath, you may get fatigued very quickly. You may find that your endurance is reduced because you end up having to use the muscles in your face to compensate for the fact that you don't have enough air on hand. So I like to make a point while I'm playing to make sure that I'm getting into good breathing habits more than just focusing on breathing when I'm thinking about it. As long as you're in the habit of breathing fully and really getting all that air into your lungs, you'll find that you have a much easier time playing for longer periods of time. Now, one thing that you want to remember about your lungs is that your lungs are very elastic. So once they're filled with air, the natural state is for them to want to release that air. And that can be a big advantage to you as a trumpet player because your lungs are already on your side. Of course, we're using our abdominal muscles to push that air out of our lungs, but already once the lungs are fully inflated, they really want to push that air out, and that becomes a big advantage. The more you're using your lungs and your abdominal muscles to really control that air, the less excessive work you have to do with the muscles in your face, and you're going to find your life becomes much easier as a trumpet player. So, how do you build good habits as a breather in addition to being a trumpet player? Well, when you're reading music, it's a little bit easier because you have a controlled environment in which to breathe. The first tip that I'll give you that I find very useful is to treat breathing as though it's a part of the music. More than just, oh, let's breathe right before we come in, which can sometimes lead to a fast breath and not a full lung full of air. What you want to do is give yourself a full 2 or 4 beats before the music comes in to really make sure that you're getting a full breath. So if you have music on hand and you're reading music, it may even be helpful to write in little notes to yourself, or certainly to find places in the music where you can take a good breath and add breath marks to it, so that you know when you get to those places that you're going to have to take a breath. So what I like to do is treat breathing just like reading music in the same way that you wouldn't just skip over a bunch of notes or leave out a measure. You don't want to leave out breathing either, and that's a good way to get started, just trying to get into good habits of breathing before you play. So if there's a count off, 1, 2, 1, 2, I want to take that full 2 beats or 4 beats, however long you have or however long you want, to make sure that you're really getting a full breath and you got a full tank of air before you have to start playing. 1, 2, 1, 2. By then, I've got a full tank of air and I'm ready to go. It's going to make my life a lot easier as I go. Again, what I'm talking about here is really building good habits more than just taking a deep breath. So you can always practice deep breathing and long tones and all of your lung capacity kinds of exercises. But in the moment when you have to actually play, that's when you want to make breathing automatic. So as you go, you can really focus in as you're practicing on really thinking about before the music comes in, really take a couple of beats to take a big breath and make sure that you're getting that air in there. Once you're in the music, sometimes it can be a little tricky to find a good place to breathe. But if you can go through the music in advance and really try to find those places where you can take a deep breath, really try to make a point to take advantage of that time and really take a deep breath and get in the habit of doing that. The best times to take deep breaths are during whole quarter note rests or half note rests. Even an eighth note rest can really be your friend from time to time, but it never hurts to just write in the music a little breath mark, especially as you get more and more used to developing good breathing habits, so that you can remind yourself to get into that habit and really make sure that you have a big breath for when you actually have to come in and play the music. Now, the situation in which I find myself most in danger of running out of breath and not breathing properly is when improvising. I'm a jazz trumpet player and I find myself improvising very frequently, and a lot of the time I will find myself in a situation where I'm playing very long phrases and I just forget to breathe. And where I really notice that I haven't been breathing properly is a couple of minutes into a tune or into a gig when I realize that my muscles have just been doing way more work than they need to. It's tough on your endurance to not have enough air because you end up having to compensate with your face. So one way that you can solve that kind of an issue is to really think about your phrasing. I'll give you a little example of where I might run into some trouble. 1, 2, 1, 2. Woo! All right, I ran out of air. All right, it's easy as improvisers to play very long phrases and to forget to breathe. And then at the end, not only do you have to cut your phrase off early before you can come up with a clever ending, but also you end up overusing the muscles in your face to try to hold on when you don't have the air support you need to really keep that tone going. So one thing that I like to practice as an improviser is my phrasing. And I have a couple of techniques that I like to use in order to make sure that my phrasing doesn't get out of control, that I can use slightly shorter phrases and make sure to leave space. Not only because it's a compelling element of the music to be able to leave space and to interact with the rhythm section, but also because that will give you the opportunity to really take a big breath and make sure that you have the air support you need to make it to the end of the solo or to the end of the gig. So one exercise that I like a lot that I use in order to develop my phrasing and to think about phrasing is I'll take a sheet of manuscript paper. Let's say I'm working on improvising over a blues. I may cut it into 12-bar increments so I can see the form of the piece. And then from there, rather than writing down any notes or rhythms or harmonies that I might want to play, instead I'll just bracket off how the phrasing will work within the piece. So for example, if I'm trying to play a 5-bar phrase, I may take my 12 bars of the blues and bracket off 5 bars, and then bars 6 and 7 I'll leave open. And then as I'm practicing improvising, I may try to end my phrase on the 5th bar and then give myself the 2 bars to just, take it easy, rest, take a big breath, and really listen to what the rhythm section's doing. Now, when you're practicing at home, you may not have a rhythm section, but you get the gist. The idea, again, is just to build those habits of being able to play a little bit shorter phrases and really wrap them up effectively, and then give yourself ample time to breathe. And that will help a lot as you continue to breathe through the gig. You can make sure that you're building those habits to really make sure that you're taking a big breath, that you've got the air support, not only to get the notes when you need them, but also to take a lot of the strain off of your face and to help with your endurance. Another thing that I find very useful is to listen to your favorite musicians and really listen to the way that they phrase, listen to the way that they use space. One of my favorite musicians is Miles Davis, and he is a master of space. And I'll always check him out and really listen in to where he's leaving that space and the way that he's interacting with the rhythm section. And as you play and as you develop as an improviser, you can really think about trying to take advantage of slightly shorter phrases and a little bit more space, not only because it's a compelling musical element, but also because it'll give you the opportunity to breathe enough to make it through the gig without too much difficulty. All right, and finally, as you're consciously thinking about building good habits of breathing, you do always want to remember that you want to breathe from your diaphragm, really try to fill your lungs with air, work on your lung capacity, but also on making sure that you're really getting a full breath so that you have all the fuel you need for the music you're trying to make, and you can take a little of the effort off of the muscles in your face and really get a beautiful tone and be able to cover the whole range of the instrument. There's no substitute for really making sure that you've got a full tank of air when you're playing the trumpet. But this may seem obvious, this discussion may seem very simple, especially if you've been playing trumpet for a while, but even advanced players can sometimes forget to really take the time to take a breath. My point here is not to talk so much about the act of breathing, but about building good habits of breathing, about giving yourself the opportunity and the time before you start to play to really take a deep breath and to treat breathing as though it's an important part of the music, just as though playing notes and rhythms and phrasing and tone and sound and everything else are a big part of the music. All right, gang, I hope that was helpful in your quest for musical excellence. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to all the new subscribers. We're going to keep putting out some new musical videos for you. All right, happy practicing, gang. See ya. All right, friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. I hope it helps in your pursuit of the majesty of musical self-expression. If you like what we're doing here, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to all the new subscribers. We really appreciate your support, and we're going to keep putting out some new videos for you. The Ridgewood School of Music is now accepting new students for lessons online as well as in person in the Brooklyn, Queens, and greater New York City area. You can find us on our website at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, and you can send us a message, and we would love to help you achieve all of your musical dreams. For some more musical fun, you can also follow me, Bobby Spellman, on Instagram @BobSpellman, or in any of the other social media platforms listed in the description below. Thanks again for checking out this video. Happy practicing, and we'll catch you next time.